Hi guys, have you ever wondered if I could find the right diet for me, then I could lose the weight? Well, then you've come across the right video. As everybody has the ability to lose weight, however, you do need to have the correct diet that suits you to be able to do so. And that means choosing the right diet that fits your lifestyle and also your medical issues. So today we're going to go through 6 diets. All are effective for weight loss if structured correctly. However, there might be reasons, medical and otherwise, that you choose one diet over the other to maximize your individual weight loss benefit. So today we're going to go through issues such as diabetes, type diabetes 2, pre-diabetes, those with insulin resistance. We're looking at post-menopause. We're looking at normal populations, just like myself, my average Joe. We're also looking at IBS and those with, for example, lactose intolerance, just allergies or issues deriving from eating carbohydrates, as well as going to have a look at eating disorders and what's the best diet for those. So the diets we're going to cover today are the carnivore diet, number 1. Number 2, keto diet. Number 3, low carb diets. Number 4, a balanced diet, which really includes number 5 as well, vegetarian. They're both similar structure. It's just one's having meat and the other one's not. They're plant sources. And the last one, number 6, intermittent fasting, which is really a timing situation for your diet, not so much a diet or eating type. So let's look at the diets, guys. Firstly, you've got carnivore and keto. Now, both of those are ketogenic diets. That means that your body's transitioning into using fat as its number 1 fuel source. The reason for it, both diets are 20 to 30% protein and the rest is fat. So carnivore diet is purely just animal fats. That's it, animal protein, animal fats. The keto diet is animal and plant sources, fat and protein. Now, although the carnivore diet is no carbs or plant sources whatsoever, the keto diet has a few variations. They have a no carb plan. They have a very low carb plan, which is under 5% carbohydrate, and also an under 10% carbohydrates plan. Both, however, are ketogenic because there's not enough carbohydrates for the body to use as fuel. So it's forced to, as I said before, to use fat as its number 1 fuel source. Then we look at low carb diets. Low carbs are usually under 20%. So although not ketogenic, because your body has enough carbohydrates to use that as fuel, the insulin production from the minimal amount of carbohydrates produced is quite low. So therefore, all 3, carnivore, keto, and low carb, are really good for controlling insulin, which is going to control blood sugar throughout your bloodstream. Then we move on to number 4 and 5, balanced diets. So a balanced diet, you can include meat or you can go vegetarian, and that's just plant sources with no meat. Or you can go hard out and vegan, no animal products whatsoever. That's completely up to you. But with all diets, including balanced and vegetarian, you still need your 20 to 30%, 30% is optimal, amount of 30% protein. And that's purely for maintaining your muscle through that diet period. Now, a balanced diet usually consists of around about 30% protein, 40 to 50% carbohydrates, and 20 to 30% fats. So, of course, therefore, it's not a ketogenic diet. You're just using glycogen, which is produced from carbohydrates, as your number 1 fuel source. With all things being normal, that is the body's number 1 choice as a fuel source. And that leads us to the last one, intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, guys, it's purely it's not a type of diet, it's just a timing when you're going to eat. And you can implement intermittent fasting with all 5 diets. So for example, some people will miss a breakfast and use that period between dinner and say lunchtime or early afternoon as their fasting period, which might be say 16 to 18 hours of fasting period every day. And so they're just eating 2 times a day. They're eating at, let's say, 2 o'clock, and they're eating at, let's say, 6 o'clock. So they've got a 20-hour fast, and they're eating for that 4-hour period. The idea here, though, is the idea of intermittent fasting is just simply One, to fast, so you use all your insulin and glycogen that's been stored in your body, as well as controlling calories that you're eating. So really good in a weight loss situation is a weight loss phase of, say, 8 to 12 weeks. Really good to control those calories so you do have that deficit. And there are other ways you can do intermittent fasting as well, guys. You can do a 5-2 diet. So for 5 days a week, you just eat your normal maintenance, whatever your metabolic rate might be. And for 2 days, 2 consecutive days, you have 500 calories on each day. That's really going to push that burning potential of your body. Or some people, like I was saying, miss breakfast. Some people like myself, I like to do it and miss dinner. So I have breakfast and lunch, and then my fast period is from 2 o'clock through to 6 a.m. the next morning, which is a 16-hour fast. And I'll do that a couple of times a week. So there's many ways you can do intermittent fasting to help control those calories that you're consuming. Now, before we go into the different populations and which diet is best for you, just want to address something that's been in the market at the moment being promoted is the fat loss diets. Hey, I like all diets. Whatever works for you, works for you. However, there's a lot of misinformation out there, particularly about insulin. Insulin, yes, it is a fat storage hormone. However, there are a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork saying you can't burn fat while there's insulin present in your bloodstream. Of course you can. Before the Atkins, ketogenic, and carnivore diets became commercialized, say 20 odd years ago, people have been losing weight. Guess what? Simply by reducing their carbohydrate amount, which reduces the calories. And that's it. They've still got carbohydrates and insulin being produced at every single meal that they've eaten. However, they're just having less of it. So therefore, there's less carbohydrates, less calories being consumed compared to what the body's burning. So therefore, they're in a deficit. And when you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. It's as simple as that. Hi guys, I've got 600 videos coming your way over the next 12 months, covering everything that you need to know to lose whatever weight you need. If you can just take 10 seconds, like, subscribe, just so you're up to date with the daily drops into YouTube. Thanks each guys, back to the video. Take bodybuilders, for example. They're the leanest people on the entire planet. Now, guess what? They still have carbs every single meal. They just cut back their carbs and their calories slightly so they can still get through the hard training of building muscle through their fat loss phase. But guess what? They still burn and cut fat with carbohydrates and insulin being produced right throughout the entire day. Because guess what, guys? Insulin's produced from protein as well, not just carbohydrates. Now, there's also a bit of confusion about the speed in which you can lose weight. A lot of people are saying, oh, ketogenic's the way to go. So that means the carnivore and the keto and the low carb diets are the way to go for fast fat loss. Unfortunately, not true again. Initially you're losing a lot of weight, but that's not fat because you don't have any carbohydrates in your body. Therefore, you're going to have less water storage. And so straight away after 1 or 2 weeks, you're going to see 3 or 4 kilos gone off the scales simply because you don't have that water storage that you had through carbohydrates. But that's not fat loss, guys. That's just water. Over the last 30 years, they've done countless randomized human trials comparing diets, ketogenic versus diets with carbohydrates and producing insulin. Guess what, guys? They all produce about the same result. The same amount of fat being burnt off each group over a specific time period. And even my own personal experience with, I've had over 2,000 weight loss clients over the last 15 years. Some I'm putting them on just a balanced diet and they're losing. I've had clients lose 50 and 60 kilos, 50% of their body weight basically through following a balanced diet. And that's carbohydrates all day, every day, mixed with their protein and fats. However, I've had other clients that don't lose weight efficiently on a balanced diet. So I put them on a low carb diet. So I basically reduce going from a balanced diet of say 50 to 60% carbohydrates, 40 to 50% carbohydrates, I start reducing those carbohydrates back to 30%, then 20. And then over the weeks, you can see the weight really starting to come off simply because they're either pre-diabetic or they have insulin resistance. which therefore a balanced diet doesn't necessarily derive the best outcome in regards to weight loss. And then in my own weight loss journey, I've lost 10 kilos in 10 weeks, 8 different times over the last 15 years with my clients. 8 different ways. I've used all these diets and variations of these diets, and I still get the same result. 10 kilos, 10 weeks, every single time. Now, just before we hit those populations, guys, just remember, a diet is for a period of time. It's not for 6 months. It's not for a year. You're not constantly in a diet for your life. You're in a diet for 8 to 12 weeks, and that's it. So you're going to go, okay, I want to lose 10 kilos, or let's say 10%, which is both possible in a 10-week period, which is what I do, and I get my clients to do. So your focus is to do whatever it takes to get as much weight off or fat off in that 10-week period. And that means having a deficit, a weekly deficit, say 2,500 to 3,000 calories. Your steps, hopefully you're wearing a pedometer or get one. You better get one. You're doing 10 to 15,000 steps a day, which transitions into calories burnt as well. In addition to that, you want to do resistance exercise. You want to do 2 or 3 half-an-hour full-body resistance exercises, guys, because you want to maintain your muscle through that diet period, because your muscles are your fat burners. So you want to keep a hold of them as much as you can through that weight loss period. And the most important thing, guys, is commitment. You can never quit. The only way you can fail at this is if you quit. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. But every day you get up, you refocus. What can I do today to maximize my fat loss result? Maybe I need to do intermittent fasting today. Maybe I'm just going to do 1 or 2 meals and then do an 18-hour fast. Whatever it takes, guys. Maybe you need to transition. You've got one diet. You're going to transition to a different diet within that 10-week period to maximize your results, because it's not quite happening for you. Or it's too hard to manage the carbohydrates that you're consuming. You might just need to go ketogenic for a few weeks and then go back to that diet that you choose or that you prefer. It's just about pivoting and doing everything that you can in that 10 weeks to drop that weight. Because at the end of that 10 weeks, the diet's over, you go into maintenance. So whatever you've lost, even if it's 3 or 4 kilos, you're in maintenance for 1 to 2 months before you start again, because you've got to get your body right and ready for the next diet phase. Hope that helps, guys. So let's get into which diet's best for you. All right. Number one, we're going to look at type 2 diabetes. We're going to look at those that are pre-diabetic. And we're also going to look at those that have got insulin resistance, which pretty much cover all 3. Now, if you fall under that category, you're looking at carnivore diet, ketogenic. You want a ketogenic diet. Now, a ketogenic diet is going to produce a small amount of insulin through the protein consumption that you're going to be having. However, it's going to help control blood sugar because you've lowered your insulin production. So you're looking at carnivore, you're looking at keto, and you're looking at low carb of under 10%. And they're going to be those ketogenic diets that you're after. Now, with these diets, though, as they are 60 to 70% fat based, you're probably going to need to have intermittent fasting built into your schedule, simply because fat is 9 calories per gram. Protein and carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So fat, as you can tell there, is double the amount of calories. So although we need fat, and if you're going on a carnivore ketogenic diet, you're going to need 60 to 70% fat of your diet in your diet. You're going to have to watch your calories while you're consuming that amount of fat. Therefore, you need to implement intermittent fasting into your diet plan to control your calories. Now let's look at normal, average people like myself that can lose weight on any diet. And that's the reality, guys. We can use any of those diets and we can lose weight. As long as we're in a deficit, we're doing the appropriate amount of activity, going off the pedometer, 10 to 15,000 steps. We've got some resistance exercise to save our muscle through that period. We're going to lose that weight. So your choice there is, what eating plan do you prefer? Is it just simply going to intermittent fasting to cut your calories? Is it going to go high out carnivore so you don't have many options of food available? You just got pretty much meat, eggs, butter, and cream. That's about it. They're your options. So really easy diet to follow, and really good if you do get a lot of cravings because you just have meat, basically. Just watch those calories because, hey, I've put on weight with a carnivore diet as a test before I lost the weight on the carnivore diet. So you can put on weight with all of those diets, despite what the people in the know are telling you. You can put on weight with any diet. Just try it, guys. Consume more calories than you burn. Guess what? It's going to turn to fat. It's not going to go anywhere else. So we can go into any of those diets, guys. What best suits your lifestyle and what you prefer to eat. That's what your decision's based on, because they'll all work for you. Now, number 3, eating disorders. Eating disorders, guys, it's usually carbohydrate-based. No one ever overeats steak. No one ever overeats eggs. It's just not really a thing. When you've got an eating disorder, you start eating and you just can't stop. Mine, like I've got trigger food. My trigger food's bread. If I have bread or homemade biscuits that my wife eats, hey, I have one. I'm having the box. If I have one slice of bread, I'm having half the loaf. So in my weight loss period of 10 weeks, I don't touch bread. She's not allowed to make biscuits. That's sort of the rules that we go for when I'm into that period. So we all have triggers. Now, if you've got an eating disorder and you just simply can't control your carbohydrate intake, best to eliminate them completely, guys. If you want to eliminate them, you're going to go carnivore. That's the best way to eliminate it altogether. Or you can go zero carb keto. Zero carb keto, not as hard out as carnivore, because carnivore is purely just animal products, whereas keto is, you've got animal protein, but you've also got plant-based fats as well, good fats. So that can be an option for you. It's like, for example, you're an alcoholic. You're not going to go to the pub to have one beer. You know what the outcome is going to be. You're just going to have one. Just like if you've got a bit of a disorder and you can't control your carbs, you can't just have a little bit. You're going to have a hell of a lot of it. So let's just eliminate it altogether so you can get to your weight loss goals. Then at the end of let's say the 10-week period, you can start adding back certain carbohydrates that you might be able to control in your maintenance period. And then over the weeks or the month, add back more and more carbohydrates to really control those cravings and that eating. If you start going pear-shaped again, well then eliminate that out of your diet. Because the worst thing you can do is go on a diet for 10 weeks, drop your 10 kilos or 10%, and then 2 months later, 3 months later, you've blown your maintenance and you're back to where you started. What's the point of that? So when you finish your 10-week period, you're in maintenance. You're in maintenance. You learn habits through your 10 weeks. You're in maintenance. You're going to maintain that weight that you got to by the end of your 10-week period. Number 4, we're going to look at those with irritations to carbohydrates. So IBS, lactose intolerant, things like that. Similar to if you can't control your carbs, guys, if your body doesn't agree with it, you're not going to have it. So you pretty much know already what foods you can and can't have. So, you can choose any of these. However, you're going to only have the carbohydrates that you can ingest. However, there's been great results recently coming out with the carnivore diet. People are completely eliminating carbohydrates from their diet and just having animal products. And they've had great results with carnivore, because it simply could be the carbohydrates from plant sources that might be an issue. And that's why carnivore does work quite well. Again, you can choose any of those diets, eliminating what really gives you the issues. For example, lactose intolerant, you just don't have dairy. Simple as that. And if you're already following your diet, and chances are you are, because you know your condition and what works best for you, you just got to start cutting calories, guys. You're just cutting those calories. You're going to cut 2,500 to 3,000 calories per week. So you might have a bad day and have 2,500 calories. The next day, you want to drop that and make sure you're in a deficit of 500. Therefore, you're back to even. If your body burns 2,000, you're back to even. And then on the third day, you're going to drop another 500 deficit. Then on the fourth day, drop it, and so on, guys. It's not so much the day, it's over the week that we're looking at. So you might have 2 bad days a week. Hey, make it up with the other 5. You might have 3 good days, 1 bad day, 2 good days, 1 bad day. Hey, five good days, you're going to get a deficit out of that, and you're going to drop weight because of it. But it's just got to be consistent, guys. 90% consistency will get that weight off, get that fat off. And now we're down to the final one, guys. Post-menopause. Now, unfortunately, post-menopause, guys, your body doesn't, carbs are not your friends. So really, we're looking at carnivore, keto, low carb. Doesn't have to be ketogenic, but you don't want really more than 20% carbohydrates in your diet because your body's not using the glycogen as well as it used to. So that's just to lower those carbohydrates and just use those top 3. And that will, with a calorie deficit, of course, getting those steps to 10 to 15,000, having those resistance exercise sessions through the week, and really commit to that diet block, you'll get that weight loss happening. Hope that helps, guys. Just remember, 10 kilos or 10%, 10 weeks, everyone can do it. You just need to commit. Don't quit, because the only way you can fail is if you quit. Even if you get a half the amount of weight that you want to get off, you've got some weight off. Then you go into that maintenance and do it again for another 10 weeks. It's a process, guys. Just got to commit to that process.
Hi guys, Sean here. A lot of you are sending messages via the comments saying that you need help with your weight loss. Do me a favor, if you could send me a text, which is the best way to get a hold of me, on 0491 932 525. And again, 0491 932 525. Thanks heaps, guys. I'll help you with whatever you need.